Welcome to this Dhamma conversation, or shall I say the reading on some of my research on the practical experience of the meditation using tranquil wisdom insight meditation. I have been conducting some remote Zoom-based internet meditation sessions to some of my friends and families back in Nepal. It has been going for the last almost 13 or 14 weeks, and most of my audiences are completely new to this 6-hour practice and the tranquil wisdom insight meditation. Though or most of them are Buddhists, and they do understand some of the basic concept of Buddhism, and they are devout in the sense that they revere Buddha as the ultimate kind of a human say symbol of ultimate perfection, and they do regard in some sense Buddha as a god, which is not exactly true in a sense. So what I have been doing in those last 12, 13 weeks is I have been trying to give them the flavor of what the twin is, what is jhana, what is wisdom, and how we can combine the meditation practice that combines the tranquility aspect of jhana and the wisdom aspect that comes from the practice of vipassana. So, and during the course of that sessions, I have discovered a wonderful sutta which Buddha has himself discovered, that it is called Dvaita Vitaka Sutta in Majjhima Nikaya, two kinds of thoughts. Here, Buddha is explaining to the monks is how he divided his thoughts into two classes: some wholesome thoughts, some unwholesome thoughts, and how he sees the danger and degradation on those unwholesome thoughts, and how one should be taking those as a matter of urgency, such that one will prevent the mishaps that might occur due to indulging on those sort of unwholesome thought. So he gives a simile of a cow, a bull that might be just been looked after by a cowherd, and it's a rainy season, and there are plenty of crops on the field, and his utmost importance is to not to let those cows go into those crops and be in trouble. So these are the dangers of unwholesome thought that he compares. Then he goes into the opposite, and he says that the thought of non-ill will, non-sensual desire, non-cruelty, which he did not explicitly say that these are loving kindness or compassion, but he went through these in those terms, like the thought of non-ill will, which is loving kindness, thought of non-cruelty. These are the nice and wholesome thoughts. These are, he compared those thoughts to be something akin to like those sort of thoughts which do not cause any sort of a concern or anxiety to anyone, and he compares that to a state like in the last month of rainy season, when all the villages have brought their crops inside the village, and then a cowherd only need to be guarding his cows while the crops are just there is nothing in the field, and he is just letting those cows be around the field, and he just need to be mindful that those states are there. So this is precisely what we are doing with the loving kindness meditation, is that we are letting those states be, and we are only be we will only be in a the only concern there will be to see, if the cow herd will be, only his concern is whether those cows will be stolen by somebody else, and he just need to be mindful that those cows are there. So and then he departs into a slightly more subtle territory of how these thoughts, even though they are wholesome, they are nice, if one keeps engaging on the thoughts of wholesome thoughts, that they can cause some sort of strain in the body. And when the body is strained, mind becomes strained, and when the mind becomes strained, it is far from concentration. So he is implying is that staying on the thought of loving kindness or thought of non-ill will is nice. You can keep it as long as you want, but if you practice that just the thought of sending loving kindness too much, it can tire the body, and when body is tired, mind is going to be strained. So there is a clear relationship between mind and body. And then he says that, okay, so there is a nice thought, you keep it going, then you need to relax the body and mind, and that's where the step of tranquilization come in. So then he says that now you letting go of the unwholesome states, then you tranquilize your body and tranquilize your mind, then you enter the jhanas. So that's precisely how you go into the jhana. So although people, they gloss it over so quickly that okay, anybody there is another uh, somebody also talks about jhana, they also can talk about concentration, some sort of deep state, and they miss the point is that you can only enter the jhana, you can only be in a jhana state by managing the hindrances. You have to deal with the hindrances. There is no way you will be experiencing the jhana by focusing on one particular place or one particular sign. This is not what the Buddha is saying. He has been saying this for many times in the sutras and everywhere. That is, hindrances will have that this is the reality of the present moment. Is you cannot let these jhanas just you cannot just push them away and focus on one thing and be in the jhana. That's not simply the way. And here, I would like to bring out some very interesting. This is quite a widespread in Eastern countries, that they have been practicing breathing meditation for many thousands of years, and they think that by focusing on the breath, they can experience a deep reality, they can experience a very deep state of concentration, and they say, okay, this is what's the difference between jhana and this one. And this was one of the questions I received during those conversations I had with my friends and families, and they were trying to equate jhana to be some sort of to be equal to the state of one pointedness, or some sort of um, deep state of oneness, or some sort of, they were saying that this is what they call it amani dasa. This is a Vedic concept, and there's a state of no mind. But I clearly had to explain that this is not you cannot equate this Vedic concept of the Vedic state of amani dasa with a jhana. They are completely apple and oranges. You cannot compare these two and assume that they are the same. This is clearly not. So they have been practicing breathing meditation. They do use word sort of samatha and vipassana. They also, there is a lot of confusion. These people are practicing what is called vipassana, 10 days vipassana practices in Nepal, in India, where they are taught intensely to focus on whatever the sensations that arise in the body and focus your mind right to the point of that, and you watch that closely and watch them fade away. This is how they practice. And for the first couple of days they are being told to what is called to persevere, or to and this is what they call the adhisthana, I mean to determine in the mind that you you sustain yourself by whatever the feelings and emotions that arise. I will be aware of that and I will stay focused, and I will watch that. I will not let my mind stray away from watching those sort of states. And this is what they call would, and they will say that this is how they purify their mind. And I had to bring about this notion of one pointedness is although they think that this is that is the way of purifying the mind. And I had to come up with some a practical simile, some sort of example, is that you have two kinds of uh, awareness that you can bring about. And I gave a simile of torchlight. You have got somebody looking for something uh, during the day or in the evening, and you are focusing your light towards a particular point, and you are deeply only looking at one particular area of a whole entire your vicinity. And that's how this is the one pointedness will focus all your energy and all your awareness in those sort of narrow beam of light, at the expense of losing awareness of everything that is around. And this is the practice they are following, is that they think that they are practicing, they are cleansing their mind, but they are not. That is not how you clean your mind. Hindrances have to be dealt with, they have to be managed, they have to be tranquilized, they have to be calm, they have to be settled. So this is the way the tranquil wisdom inside meditation is working. And this is the kind of a light compared to the torchlight. You can consider this as a something observing everything in a broad daylight, that you are aware of everything that is moving around. You can see the things, you can hear anything, you can watch anything, and there is all the things are appearing and disappearing, and nothing is being missed from your awareness. So there is a fundamental difference between how these people practice meditation and what is our tranquil aware jhana is that they are completely different approaches. And I have also given a simile of you cannot purify your mind by just focusing on one particular thing. And this might lead to a deep concentration, it might lead to some sort of supernormal awareness, but they are not going to purify your mind. So the tranquil aware jhana has to come with the settlement of the hindrances, the all our preconceived notions, everything, our feelings, and some sort of disturbances. These have to be dealt with. So, and only after dealing with those sort of feelings, emotions, hindrances, and settling them in a very nice and easy way, that is how we come about to the state of jhana. So this is the one of the thing we discussed, and I have made note of this. So jhana is, as the Buddha says, is a milestone on the path to the awakening. So we can consider, let's say, Noble Eightfold Path as some sort of super highway. That is where we are heading towards. But before we head towards the super highway, we need to deal with this sort of jungle of hindrances, and you cannot just suppress them, you cannot bulldoze them and just focus on one direction. This is not going to lead to any kind of peace and calm and the development of the mind that the Buddha was talking about. So, and just to refer to the exact word of the Buddha, there is a sutta in the Majjhima Nikaya where the Buddha says, what is jhana according to the Buddha? This is in the Majjhima Nikaya 31, Chula Gosinga Sutta, and here the Buddha says that, good Anuruddha, while you abide thus diligent, ardent and resolute, have you attained any superhuman state, a distinction in knowledge and vision worthy of noble ones, a comfortable abiding? So then this is the question Buddha asked, and then we have got this answer from the Anuruddha. Why not, Venerable Sir? Here, Venerable Sir, whenever we want, quite secluded from sensual pleasure, quite secluded from unwholesome states, we enter upon and abide in the first jhana, which is accompanied by applied and sustained thought, with rapture and pleasure born of seclusion. Venerable Sir, this is a superhuman state, a distinction in knowledge and vision worthy of noble ones, a comfortable abiding, which we have attained while abiding diligent, ardent and resolute. So this makes ample clear that the jhana is a superhuman state, a distinction in knowledge and vision worthy of noble one, a comfortable abiding. So now this is a completely different of state of knowledge and understanding. This is basically what Buddha is saying. This is a state of awareness. This is a superhuman state. Only those who are practicing the superhuman path will be able to experience this, and it is a comfortable abiding. As we all know, jhana, it makes your mind and body so comfortable, so happy. That's why this jhana is so different from any deep one-pointed concentration. I was speaking with one of those participants, and they were saying that she has been practicing this meditation of one-pointed breathing meditation for 20 years, and she is still groping and finding some new states, and by the very word groping is that she doesn't have any vision and knowledge. It's a blind kind of the groping is that something you try to estimate, try to make sense of something in the dark. So this is a kind of very dark kind of you're trying to understand in the thick darkness what that could be. But in the contrary, I mean, what we see is the jhana is the direct knowledge and vision. So you see things clearly, you see this thing in a bright day, in a very bright and comfortable manner. So this is your awareness will be very comfortable, and you have that sort of vision that is worthy of noble ones. So this is one of the distinctions of what jhana is according to the sutta. So, and there is another very good summary of what is jhana in the sutta there is, I think this is in the Sutta Nipata, here where the Buddha says that there is no wisdom without jhana and there is no jhana without wisdom. So jhana and wisdom upon panya, these are kind of a conjoined twin, so you cannot separate these two together. So whoever attains jhana has attained the wisdom, or is on the way to attain the wisdom, and whoever has got the wisdom to understand jhana is already in a jhana. So you cannot be in a jhana by your blind practice, and by suppressing all the emotions, all your hindrances, all your notions, everything. You cannot just push them and be in a jhana. Jhana, according to the Buddha, is a state of wisdom. You need to know, you need to understand. This is what this the settling the hindrances is all about. These are the unwholesome states. They can degrade and endanger our well-being. These unwholesome states have to be dealt with. We have to let them go. So this is the wisdom. This is the Noble Eightfold Path. Here, I mean, this process is the right effort, where you need to let go of unwholesome. You have to strive to not to let those unwholesome states to arise. Bring about the wholesome states and keep that going all the time. So this is the right effort. So this is the understanding of what is unwholesome and what is wholesome is a must, and this is a part of the wisdom. Is the we have got this sutta in the Majjhima Nikaya 9 by Sariputta, and here Sariputta says, what is right view? What is the wisdom? And he says that if one understands what is unwholesome, the root of unwholesome, what is wholesome, the root of wholesome, he has got a right view. So entering the jhana means you have to have a right view, or you have to have a wisdom. And whenever you have a wisdom, you have got a jhana. And when you have got a jhana, when you are entering in the jhana, you are in the tranquil, aware state, then naturally your mind does incline towards jhana. So again, I have there is another sutta in the Majjhima Nikaya where the Buddha says is that those who are entering the jhana, they are, it's like the river Ganges that slants and slopes towards the east. In the same manner, those who have experienced jhana are slant and slope towards nibbana. So jhana and nibbana, jhana is an intermediate state, and it is someone who has experienced jhana is already heading towards nibbana, and it is guaranteed that whoever enters jhana with this, by letting go of unwholesome state and keeping the wholesome state, is already fixated and is guaranteed to enter to the state of nibbana. I mean, we cannot argue about this. There is a droplet of water that came from all the way from the Himalayas, and it has entered to the river. We can be absolutely assured that one day that the drop of water will enter the ocean. The ocean is nibbana. So Buddha has clearly stated that one who has experienced jhana will one day experience the nibbana. There is no refuting of that. So this is what makes jhana from the Buddha so important. Now this is again, those who have understood jhana has actually already entered the right view. That means that person may soon experience the fruit of what we call stream entry, is that the mind will directly understand the Four Noble Truths, is that this is the suffering. That's how you let go of suffering, because one who has experienced jhanas already knows these hindrances, these perceptions, these feelings, those emotions are the suffering. And one does let go of those suffering not by forcefully suppressing that, but by letting them go, by relaxing, by tranquilizing, by applying the 6R. So I did explain the 6R in such a way that 6R is the has got the right effort embedded inside it, and it does clearly do what the Buddha says. And I do not need to quote where we can find these phrases, but in many suttas, Buddha describes the state of Nibbana or the process of Nibbana as follows: this is peaceful, this is sublime, namely stilling of all formations, relinquishment of all acquisitions, destruction of craving, dispassion, cessation, Nibbana. So this is the very, very condensed summary of the Buddha's path in nutshell. So this has got all the information that one can glean from here, that is what is Nibbana. So from what we understand from these phrases is that this is the stilling of all formations. So formations are any sort of our intentions to do any work, any sort of activities, and those formations or the sankharas there are three types of sankharas: bodily sankharas, verbal sankharas, and mental sankharas. And these sankharas are what the Buddha calls is that there are wholesome wholesome sankharas, there are unwholesome sankharas, there are sankhara with a good results, and there are sankharas with bad results, and they are closely related to the uh, action and what we call karma. So sankharas, they tend to generate karmas. So and nibbana is the cessation of all karmas. So what we can say from here is that is you see, whoever has got the understanding is that those formation you can consider them as some sort of a flow or some sort of activity or some sort of potential. Is what the Buddha is saying, that wait, you see those sankharas are about to materialize, they are going to be then manifested anytime if you let that go. So those sankharas, doesn't matter if it is wholesome or this is unwholesome, that will lead to an action, and those actions will always have a consequence. So that consequence will either come into a form of merit and demerit. So those people are this concept of merit and demerit is actually is still part of the mundane worldly endeavors. So you can accumulate infinite amount of merit and you still will not be liberated. And demerit is everybody knows what those demerits will cause. So being involved in generating merits and demerits are, although people would think that okay, I do the wholesome activities, I help others, so yeah, this and that means you as soon as you got involved with those sort of intentions and you start to flow with these activities, the activities of intention, then you have ignited the chain of what we call the karma. And thus karma is whether that karma will bring the wholesome or some sort of pleasurable rebirth or some sort of heavenly rebirth, or it can bring about the misery, is you still bound into the chain of rebirth, and the karma will not let you go. You will always be bound within the chain of the karma. So the formations are quite it's a seed of all the activities. All you can think of any sort of activities that we do by body, speech, and mind, however subtle they might be. I mean, it is all the product of formations or the sankharas. So the sankharas can be what we can call is it's like you have started the engine, or sort of you started to make a move. And here what we can understand from one of the suttas in the Buddha's contemplation on duality, there is in Sutta Nipata, there is a section called Great Chapter, and within the Great Chapter there is a Sutta number 12, which is contemplation of duality, or Dvayatana Pasena Sutta. So contemplation of duality. Here first the Buddha talks about the breaking down the Four Noble Truths into the category of suffering and its origination, and on the other side the cessation of suffering and the way leading to the cessation. So these are what we can call it the dark and bright parts of the Four Noble Truths, and how one can, by just understanding this one is the dark part and this is the bright part, one can attain the final knowledge, basically the Four Noble Truths. If you understand the Four Noble Truths in this way, then this is obviously talking about a much deeper understanding of Four Noble Truths, is you can attain liberation. So there is another, then the next one, the Buddha talks about different dualities. This is all part of the Dhammas, including the links of dependent origination. On the second section on this contemplation of duality, Buddha talks about what are all the suffering are coming from, what are the sources, and the sources of all the suffering are, they are conditioned by acquisition. So this acquisition is the root of all the suffering. Whatever suffering originates is all conditioned by acquisition. This is one contemplation. With the reminderless fading away and cessation of acquisition, there is no origination of suffering. This is the second contemplation. Then the Buddha says, suffering in many forms in the world originate based on acquisition. Ignorant dullard who creates acquisition encounters suffering again and again. Therefore, understanding one should not create acquisition, contemplating it as a genesis and origin of suffering. Now, what is acquisition? I mean, this is acquisition. In Pali, it's called upadana, and or what we call upadhi. Upadhi is the word that will mean some sort of a renown or acclaim or some sort of asset, anything that will stick with you, that will give you some sort of asset, some sort of property that describe your inheritance. So be it a material form, some sort of buildings, you have money, you have got a company, all this are a material thing, and people do have other assets, and which, I mean, the other asset is all the accumulation of all the tendencies, habitual tendencies, all the perceptions and the feelings and all the ego, emotions, these are all mental acquisitions. So having acquired all these acquisitions, are they are leaving the footprint for the generation of all the activities that will lead to the origination of the formations. Those formations will lead to consciousness and so on. Consciousness lead to the name and form and six sense basis and so on. So what Buddha is saying is that those ignorant dullard, so if you notice here, ignorant dullard means that what we can say from here is that those who understand the teaching of the Buddha, they are really super fast. They are acting, they are seeing really something with amazing speed, and they can see that they are not dullard. What they are saying is that these things is arising, this acquisition, that there is a notion of acquiring these things, and as soon as this preconception or the notion of acquiring arises in the mind, that means that will lead to all the suffering. One knows that, one sees that. It's like looking at the uh, looking at the lightning of the during the winter season, and staying away from the danger. So you stay away from wherever there is some sort of a infrastructure, and you stay away from that sort of object, and you remain safe. So those who are wise, they can see the danger and they can stay away from acquiring all this sort of bodily and mental acquisition. So Buddha is saying that acquiring this something, people are who acquire these sort of things, they are dullard. I mean, they're just they don't know what they are doing. But those who know, those who are wise, they just abandon this acquisition and they stay in safety. So, and this can directly be seen in the meditation. I mean, there is, as you practice jhana, you calm your mind and you tranquilize all the states. There is state of emptiness. You see the mind is not reactive to anything. There is no inclination, and that's all this inclination and all this sort of longing, or any sort of trying to stay away from or trying to possess, these are all inclination, another synonym for tanha, or the craving. And this will lead to the third point of the phrase that I was talking about, is this is peaceful, this is sublime, namely the stealing of all formations, relinquishment of all acquisition. So you relinquish all the acquisition, mental or bodily acquisition, and destruction of craving. So you let go of all that, and that will lead to what is called the destruction of craving. In the craving is our kind of a mind. I compare this craving to like some sort of a stick or a bamboo pole that cannot stay straight, vertical. It always either leans to the left or leans toward the right. It can never stay straight. It is always leaning either this side or that side. And this is exactly the state of mind in the craving, is that either it wants something nice, or it perceives it goes after something, or it wants to push something away. So it's kind of always this sort of oscillation, or what we call the vibration. This is and these are different manifestation of craving. We have craving that manifests itself as a very gross state of likes and dislikes, and some sort of anger, displeasure, excitement. These are the gross type of craving that we see in everyday life. As we practice this in a 6R method, and we try to calm them by 6R, and we relax them, then this vibration of this mind, the tendency of mind to lean towards anything, will be less and less. So its kind of craving is being kind of it's been diminished. So by the process of 6R, we are diminishing the craving. and by bit by bit, and suddenly what happens is that the craving is uh, has let go of, and those hindrances will disappear, and those hindrances will disappear for certain amount of time, and what we see in those places is the bright and purified mind, which we call the jhanas. So this is the simile of what I gave in those sort of conversation, was that suppose we have got this very strange phenomena that occurs every year. We have got this solar eclipse, and everybody is working or doing their work during the broad daylight. All of a sudden, the sun, the blazing sun, will turn into the darkness. There is nothing. It's so dark even during the broad daylight, and for a few minutes or whatever time it is supposed to last, and that darkness is it is quite so we can say this is a state of confusion, or this is sort of hindrances that we are used to in a daily life. And after the period of eclipse passes away, the broad in the broad daylight, the sun will emerge um, out of nowhere. All those darknesses vanish. So one can see this spectacular phenomena in this world, which is exactly what the appearance of jhana is. You are dealing with your mind, you are letting go of all the hindrances, you are getting there, you are being patient, you are taking care of these sort of hindrances, you are letting them go, you are relaxing your mind and body, you are bringing something wholesome, nice thought, and you are relaxing your mind and body. And all of a sudden you keep doing that all the time, doing that. You do not count your timer, you don't care about how much time it has passed through. It's been maybe 10 minutes or 15 minutes, I don't care whatever is happening. Just keep doing that work, and all of a sudden all that hindrances, everything, mind will become like a the mind will become so bright. This is like a state of sun appearing after it went to dark state in the solar eclipse and emerged in the uh, on the sky with such a brightness. So jhana is like that. Is that normal people, they do not realize that their state of mind is such a, they are living in such a dark state of mind, and what they do not realize is that there is such a thing called bright sunlight, and this is what the jhana is, which is the natural state of the mind actually. So the mind is intrinsically bright and luminous in all sides. And what this jhana is showing is that one can let go of all the unwholesome states and be in the jhana for some temporary, for a few minutes. You can experience that again and again, and there is some sort of confidence that these things are not a dream. So what is it? Even in my practice, when I was starting to practice, I used to feel them. The feeling of the jhana would not last long enough, and I always used to have the longing, oh, when I can be in this jhana again, what can I do to last it for longer? And I do remember those days. I wanted to last it for long, and it didn't last long. So I was shortening their appearance. The jhanas would even become shorter when I tried to find it. So I did give some sort of simile to how we need to deal with this uh, state of the mind to make those sort of experience of jhana more stable. And although this can be some sort of a state of longing, I would probably say that this is not a way. This is not a longing, but this is the practice of stability of the jhana. So how do you stabilize the experience of the jhana? Is our mind in when you are in entering near the jhana near to the jhana state, it's like your mind is so light, and your mind does not like any burden. So it's like a balloon that is floating. Is put some helium gas inside, and you are letting those balloon float on the air. You just push it on the little bit from the bottom, and that those balloon will fly up. It will stay up for few seconds, then it will gradually fall down. So that's how the mind need to be treated to make this state. I mean, this mind is so delicate, and it is so soft. I mean, it is so um, fragile in a sense. I mean, that mind is doesn't need any sort of that's harsh treatment. So mind need to be dealt like a balloon. That you need to practice your meditation. You need to do this. Radiate the metta. Radiating the metta is that you suppose you have a practice long enough and the jhana appeared. Now what the general perception many people that oh, this is really such a nice thing, I want it to last long, and they suddenly do the things that will make it disappear. So, and the way to for this jhana to let it continue is to continue with your meditation practice. It's like the not to let that balloon float, hit the ground or hit somewhere. It needs to stay in the air. So what you do is you just push the balloon slowly up by continuing to radiate the metta to your spiritual friend. But at those sort of time when you are in a jhana state, you have to maintain such a delicate balance of not to overpower your mind with sort of high effort. You need to be very very gentle, and whatever is arising, those jhana or whatever happy state, that state is there, and that you do not need to look at them as how nice or happy they are. You are when you are experiencing that. Is that all you focus on is, are you in the state of are you practicing with the meditation object? Are you in this? Are you radiating metta or not? And just continue doing your work. Whatever this jhana state is, it will stay nicely in the background. This is not for you to observe. This is just treat the jhana as one of the hindrances. Like any hindrances, that you do not focus on the hindrances, you just let that be, do not touch it, just let that stay. Don't pay attention to jhana. Don't make a big deal out of jhana. Just ignore them, let that be, and continue to do your practice. That is how this the duration of the jhana stay longer and longer, and you can see very very in a clear manner how all the states. So this is really what is. And I have had some question about what's the point of being in a jhana if it does not last long enough. If you cannot last a jhana for this amount of time, if you cannot experience this bliss for this long, what's the point of your practice? And this is really something these people, those people who are practicing the one-pointed concentration, they do not understand is that these states of hindrances or the craving or all these sort of emotions, they do not go disappear. Like you cannot just let them disappear. They will not go away with your one pointed focus, and you cannot assume that they are gone. This is what they are trying to say, is that you need to have a peace, a quiet time. You just stop those hindrances and experience the bliss. But this is not what we see in the jhana. Is that you can be in a jhana and you can see the hindrances or sort of feelings arising. Your thoughts might be starting to arise. You can see the dynamics of those sort of events, the phenomena, even while you are in the jhana. So that's the clarity of how you can observe these sort of things will be more when you can extend the amount of time that you can stay in the stable kind of you can, let's say, maneuver yourself to watch them. So this is it's a kind of a balancing act, is that your mind will have the feeling of happiness, all the jhana, the bright mind will come up, but it will not be rock solid as what people want it to be. This is not a one pointed concentration. Is what we are dealing with, is we are dealing with the reality of our mind, our everyday life, and all our emotions and thoughts. So even in the jhana, you see that your mind is happy, your mind is bright, you can still see those subtle thoughts arising, or all the feelings. They will, you can even see the intensity of jhana. The jhana will not be like a rock solid. Is that you can see some vibration even during the jhana, is that your mind start to wobble, and when that mind is starting to wobble, the quality of your jhana, as I said, the brightness of mind will start to deteriorate. And this is all the Buddha is talking about, is that jhanas are not the what do we call the ultimate abiding, is that you need to progress. There is more to do. That's what the Majjhima Nikaya 111, the Anupada Sutta, is saying, that even in the jhana you see all these sort of dynamics of mind, is that you can see the hindrances. These hindrances will still come and play, and they will knock you out of jhana. So that sort of things is the clarity of being mindfulness and full awareness is going to help you to notice all these hindrances and how they start to manifest after your jhana has weakened a little bit, and you see immediately your jhana has weakened. That means there is some hindrances. They are materializing. They appear in your mind. That is the reason your jhana is not strong enough, is that mind is already starting to, there are some hindrances that are cropping up. So that's how this is a very kind of although this is, and that's why we are saying the suffering is all these dynamics, all this tendency of the mind to lean towards this and that, to like or dislike, and to make some sort of judgment, is actually the what do we do in the play all the time. That's why this is what we observe. So, and this destruction of craving is actually is not a one sitting practice. Is a what we call a development practice. That's why the Buddha calls is anapanasati bhavana or metta bhavana. The word bhavana in Pali means a development. It's done with it in a step of small tweaks, up and down in some sort of small or large amount, a small amount of energy, efforts. They are tweaked such that you try to match it to the reality of the present moment. Is that you will need to adjust them all the time. This is the dynamics that we have, and this tendency of the mind to lean towards anything, any sort of reaction, any sort of notion, is our craving. And what we are doing is we are stilling the formation, we are letting go of any sort of reactions, any sort of activities. So this activity of the mental, verbal, and the bodily activities, the state of all those sort of activities being stopped, or that this is a kind of a state of emptiness, or some sort of complete peace, that where it feels like you are, there is just awareness that there is nothing is gonna disturb your mind. It's just no, there are all these sounds and all these activities going on, winds are blowing, there are noise around your sitting practices. You can see people talk, you can hear people talking, and all these sort of things do happen in front of your awareness, but your mind is not disturbed by anything at all, and your mind stays in that state of equilibrium, and there is nothing is being generated. All the generation of the flow of mind has stopped. So there is in a very peace and calm state, and this is what we occasionally see in the practice, and we see this sort of empty a state of no reaction. So this is not a nibbana yet, but this is close to getting on the way to the nibbana, is letting go of all these sort of activities, or all these sort of the root, all the seed. You are containing them, or sort of they are not being proliferated. So this is the state of stealing of all formation is, and the relinquishing of all acquisition. I already talked about that, is the relinquishing of anything, the mental or bodily. You just keep letting go, and any sort of tendencies, so that you are peeling off all the, like onions, is that you're peeling off all the layers of the onions, and layer an onion, and you arrive at nothing. It's just there is nothing there. It's complete emptiness. So this is what I have been my kind of a practice has been for the last 12-13 weeks, and this is and I'm really happy to see there are quite a few of my friends and families who did understand what I was talking about, and it is sort of really nice to corroborate what I have felt, what I have seen is directly experienced by another person, which is a really gratifying feeling that gives me some sort of a happiness, is that at least this is something that can be reproduced, or something that can be felt by anyone. So this is one of the real happiness I have by doing this sort of practices on a weekly basis, where everybody is free from their weekly business, and they have got some time to practice their mind, and to develop it further, and to see the state that normal human beings cannot see that. And this is the dilemma. Everybody thinks that we are seeing the reality. What you are talking is not the real. This is the real thing. Is that they do consider reality is whatever they see is the reality, but the reality is that there is a layer of reality that goes deeper and deeper and deeper. We are just peeling the onions one by one layer, and that's how we come about. And I did mention about common misconceptions of Anapanasati Sutta, that is a very popular sutta among all the Buddhist community, and they do tend to think that Anapanasati Sutta is the mindfulness of breathing. And here, if we read the sutta on the Majjhima Nikaya 121, I think this is the Majjhima Nikaya 121, Anapanasati Sutta. Here, the Buddha is giving the instruction on mindfulness of mindfulness. This is a practice of mindfulness where, many people say that where is jhana in Anapanasati Sutta? Where is jhana in Satipatthana Sutta? They think that Buddha did not say anything about jhana in Anapanasati Sutta. Buddha did not say anything about jhana in Satipatthana Sutta. And these people who tend to practice vipassana, they think that jhana is not important, and they tend to miss the point as what is jhana. and again this is a there is a very much they tend to take this sutta as a very authoritative sutta, and they try to bring down the importance of jhana. But this is not clearly not what the Buddha is talking about. Jhana is important, but when Buddha had some sort of to say something about jhana and mindfulness, Buddha always, Buddha, the practice of the Buddha, there is a importance, utmost importance. What is the hierarchy when it comes to the importance of the phenomena? And there is a sutta here. What is most important? And there is a conversation between a Brahman, and the Brahman say, okay, somebody in our culture we say the highest is the mind, and beyond mind there is a what is called knowledge and understanding, and beyond that is what they call the state of what is called the Paramatma, or some sort of divine soul. And then he asked the question to the Buddha, what is the of something of utmost importance to you? And Buddha gives the gradual step of what his practice is. He starts with generosity, then he says how generosity helps to purify the mind. Then he talks about the morality, the virtue, the sila part. Then how the being a generous and a virtuous person can easily be concentrated, or can easily be collected. Then he talks about samadhi, or the collectedness. And this collectedness is, there are normal collectedness, or what we call normal samadhi, and there is samma samadhi, or the superhuman samadhi. This is the samadhi of the Noble Eightfold Path. And the jhana that Buddha has given us is the samma samadhi, the superhuman, supernormal samadhi. So jhana is not just samadhi, it's much more than the normal samadhi. So jhana, let's say, okay, we say that jhana is the samadhi state. Then there is a what is beyond that jhana, the samadhi state, is the mindfulness, and that's what the Buddha says. What is the, and then he asked another question, what is the beyond this mindfulness? And his Buddha says that beyond the mindfulness is the wisdom. The wisdom is the superior to the mindfulness. And what is the utmost, most important? Then the Buddha says the ultimate goal or ultimate resort of the Buddha's teaching is Nibbana. So Nibbana, and then that Brahman again asks, what is the result of Nibbana? And then Buddha says that, look, Brahman, you do not understand what I'm talking about. You have not seen this. There is, when somebody practices jhana, the goes through the Buddha's path, acquire the knowledge, acquire the wisdom, and when one experiences Nibbana, there is nothing else. There is just, this is the, there is, to talk about anything is completely is a nonsense. So that's what the Buddha has categorized his the teachings, and what he is clearly stated that is mindfulness is more superior, or mindfulness is far more important than what the jhana or the samadhi state are. So that's why this the mindfulness is always is very important, and that's why the suttas, Anapanasati Sutta and the Satipatthana Sutta, they do not spell out the word jhana. But if we read the Anapanasati Sutta, how we can make sure understand where is the jhana state in the Anapanasati. So what I can glean from this is that where is the In Anapanasati Sutta, there is a breathing in long, he understand, I breathe in long. Breathing out long, he understand, I breathe out long. And he trains thus, I shall breathe out, experience the whole body. I shall breathe in, experience the whole body. He trains that I shall breathe in, tranquilizing the bodily formation. He trains thus, I shall breathe out, tranquilizing the bodily formation. So he is calming the body, the verbal formations. So I talked about this, the sankharas is a stealing of the formation. Buddha is talking about the stealing of the formation here. Then in the next step of the Anapanasati Sutta, he says, he trains thus, I shall breathe in, experiencing rapture. He trains thus, I shall breathe out, experiencing rapture. So rapture is, what is rapture? Rapture is the first jhana. Everybody knows that. And then he says that he trains that I shall breathe in, experiencing pleasure. He trains that I shall breathe out, experiencing pleasure. So pleasure is first jhana and second jhana, where we experience rapture, there's some sort of excited kind of joy. And then we have got the experience of pleasure. The third jhana is the experience of pleasure. So that's clearly, I mean, this is the point. We need to be a bit more investigative. When reading the sutta, we need to cross-reference different suttas, and then we can understand what the Buddha is saying. I mean, he cannot just spell all those things all together and make a what we call the muddy puddle. I mean, he cannot just bring out. He can bring jhanas in its when jhanas are being investigated. When mindfulness is being investigated, he clearly needs to spell out mindfulness, not to highlight the jhanas. That's what the Anapanasati Sutta is doing, is he is giving the importance to the mindfulness aspect, and you need to be mindful of jhanas as well. You do not pick jhana as being some sort of a very big deal. So what the Buddha is saying is that you practice your mindfulness of Anapanasati, and during that process you will see this rapture, you will see this happiness, you will see this pleasure. Just be mindful. You know you are experiencing this, and let go and continue. That's what Buddha is saying. And Anapanasati Sutta, by the way, this Anapanasati is Anapana is a word that is a combination of two words. Ana in Pali or in Nepali or Hindi. Ana means is to come in, and apana means to go out. So ana means to come in, apana is to go out. So what is coming and going is obviously breathing is one thing that is coming and going, but there is much more to that. Is Anapanasati is mindfulness of what is coming and going. This is the very very loaded word. Anapana is, so one can be superficial and just equate anapana to in-breathing out or out-breathing, but this anapana is much more than just in-breathing and out-breathing. It has got the element of all the hindrances, it has all elements of all the joy and happiness of the jhanas. They all come and go. This is the reality of the phenomena, and this is the Buddha's core teaching, is that anything in our awareness, they come and go. And this is the experience of what we call the Sotapanna is that whatever the things that have got nature of arising, they have the nature of ceasing. We see that whoever sees jhana sees that nature. So one can enter the stream by just understanding this fact, is that while in the jhana you understand that those things arise and those things cease. Whatever the feeling, whatever the hindrances, whatever the joy and happiness of jhana, whatever the mental formations, they come and go. These are all arising and in a constant arising and ceasing state. So watching this, being mindful of this, is the Anapanasati Sutta, is the core of this sutta, is that you need to be mindful of these phenomena, or what we call in the Pali Dhamma. Mindfulness, we call it mindfulness of all these incoming and outgoing. And in Satipatthana Sutta, these phenomena, the feelings, perception, all these they are categorized into 4 categories, and the last category is the Dhammanupassana, the mindfulness of phenomena or mindfulness of Dhamma. So Dhamma is anything that is of arising and ceasing nature. So it can be the hindrances, it can be suffering, it can be happiness, it can be the Four Noble Truth, it can be the links of dependent origination. All these are phenomena, and all these phenomena have got a nature of incoming, arising, and outgoing. They will come and they will go. And Anapanasati Sutta means to be vigilant, to be aware of all these phenomena coming and going. How can I say that? I mean, what is the Anapanasati Sutta? I mean, there is this in Samyutta Nikaya, there is a whole section with around 38 suttas on Anapanasati Sati. Yeah, and this Anapanasati that he talks about is there is a there we can find all the different things that he talks about this Anapana. And there is a sutta where Buddha says that you focus on breathing and outbreathing, and you let go of your all these past and present worries, and you calm your mind. And that's how the some bhikkhus say they do anapanasati. And Buddha corrects him, and he says that's not precise. I understand that is anapana, but to understand how the anapana is completely fulfilled, this is how you do. And he repeats all the step of experiencing the mind and the tranquilizing the mind, all the formations, the rapture, pleasure, happiness, and all this. And he goes through all the full steps of all the jhanas. I mean, embedded in that in those feelings. And that's how the anapanasati is fulfilled in detail. It's in the Samyutta Nikaya, and there is a section on anapanasati, and thus Buddha clarifies that what is anapanasati in a very clear way, is that this is not just a breathing and outbreathing, and it's not, there's a complete anapanasati is utmost, it is the most the advanced state of meditation that Buddha is subscribing to. I mean, I did quite a bit of research, and I do see his point is that he says that anapanasati is the practice until you reach the cessation, and you and Buddha says that you reach you reach the jhanas, you cross the 4th jhana, you go to infinite space, you go to infinite consciousness, then go to nothingness, neither perception, non-perception. You carry anapanasati all the way to the neither perception nor non-perception, and anapanasati will lead you to the cessation of perception feeling, and that's how you become. And when you come out of that, then you become fully, your taints are destroyed. So Buddha is saying is that your ultimate tool to nibbana, to experience the supreme liberation, is the anapanasati. Yeah, anapanasati is the highest, the utmost tool to lead to the ultimate goal of Buddha. Yeah, Buddha's teaching. So in that sense, that the practice of Brahma Vihara or the metta, they will take you somewhere in the middle. So I do not need to tell you what this is. We all know Brahma Vihara leads us up to the point of nothingness, then we have to let go of metta, or the 4 Brahma Viharas. Yeah. So after that, what is left is we do still carry Anapanasati in our meditation. So Anapanasati is to just observe the subtlest uh, part of the mind is, and after letting them go completely, then we arrive at this true liberation. So this is how I understand. This is my understanding of jhana, how they are related with the practice of liberation in the Buddha's teachings. What is our ultimate goal? What are the ways to experience jhanas? Yeah, and what the jhanas that Buddha is talking about is so fluctuating. It is a dynamic. It is a very kind of a dynamic state. It's a real state with many kind of things moving. So it's kind of, people do not like the concept of they do not like being disturbed, or they do not like things to move. But the reality is everything is on the move. There is nothing we can do to stop them. All we can do is to let them be, and we do our practice of not to focus on those and put our attention on those sort of things that are constantly arising and passing there. They will try to grab our attention, but our objective, our practice is always to let them be, let them go, just relax, calm our mind and straighten our mind. So that's how we come about to the experience of Nibbana, by stealing of all the formations, by relinquishing of all the acquisitions, by destroy by the destruction of craving, then coming to the arriving to the state of dispassion, then to the state of cessation, and then to ultimately to the state of Nibbana, where the process of Nibbana is just it's a process of letting go. There is nothing else. You let go and let go and let go and let go, and that's it. Yeah. So there is no such a palace or some sort of heavenly existence called Nibbana. It's just it's emptying the mind of anything that will exert any influence, and that will try to deviate the mind. I mean, we just need to arrive at the state of complete stillness, complete absence of any tendencies to like or dislike, destruction of craving and emptiness. Thank you.